this is Reverend Em and Eva, and we're talking about prosperity, and we're talking about how we go from no thing and not seeing a way to having a vision and moving on to victory. And I'm explaining my personal experience of how I went from no thing, at which point I was homeless and I had incredibly severe health issues. And from that place, without really knowing metaphysics or having any understanding of what I was doing, I ended up getting with someone, and somehow we just ended up buying a plot of land. After that, during that space, that time in our lives when we was creating that, then when we split up, I knew that I had to end the relationship, which meant I was leaving my safe space and what I thought was living my dream, and I was going into nothing, not knowing anything. I didn't know where the roof over my head would come from, but by that point, I had a car to live in. And I was setting off, living in my car with no income and just me and what I owned in the car, thinking, what next? So I set off. Somehow, people just started saying, why don't you come and stop at mine? And the food came and people would say, do you want to do this job? And I'll just give you some money or whatever. And I didn't ask for it. So randomly, I had people just giving me money and giving me food and giving me a place to stay in my car and sometimes a place to stay in their property for short term and long term. And I was never short of food. I was never short of money. I was never short of somewhere safe to be.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, of course.
So my question is, at that moment, did you know in terms of like your purpose or what you wanted to do with your life, or you
No,
were not?
I absolutely did not.
Okay.
I knew that I wanted to go, to do something. I knew that I wanted a relationship with God. I didn't know what God was at that point, but I knew that if I stayed where I was, that I'd probably end up committing suicide. And therefore I knew that I had to leave. I just didn't know anything else other than I had to go.
That's beautiful. Thank you. So that tells me that you were still operating from, the point in
Victim
your life as
consciousness.
just like Reverend Michael says that pain pushes until vision pulls.
That's what happened. I'd done while I was still in the relationship, I did a course with Reverend Michael with the Shift Network. I believe it was the Shift Network. And during the course, it was about abundance and prosperity. And I recognized that I didn't have the time I needed for me to reflect with me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was trying to meditate and stuff, and I couldn't do it without being interrupted. And I was trying to listen, and as he said, the lilies of the field, they toil not. And listening to what he said, I just thought, well, I can't stay here and I've got to go, but I wasn't sure how or whatever. So I left, and things just happened. By then, I was a reverend of metaphysics. I had passed my bachelor's degree in metaphysics, but my metaphysical teachings were baby metaphysics. So I practiced the law of psychic cause and effect. That's what I practiced. That was my go-to, and my understanding of karma yoga. So whatever I tried to do it for the highest good. That was my entire basis of how I would survive from that point. So
and
then,
what about the cause and effect? Like what was the practice?
it was just recognizing that everything that happened, I could changed the course of actions and the things that happened in my life by making choices. So I would choose, so a choice would come up, and I wasn't to, Reverend Michael says, do not limit yourself in when something comes up or what you think something should look like. Be open. So I tried to be open so that when something would come into me, I was able to open up to it and think, well, if I follow this path, is it for the highest good or is it my ego? How did I work out if it was for ego or highest good? The way I looked at it was, if I looked at a car, say if someone said, do you want this Porsche? I would know that the Porsche wasn't for my highest good, because the Porsche would have high fuel costs. You couldn't fit your shopping in it. You know, you couldn't live in a Porsche. Well, I couldn't live in a Porsche. I'm way too tall to live in a Porsche. So, so a Porsche would not be for my highest good, and therefore, if someone was to offer me a Porsche, I would be able to say no. Now, if something was for my highest good, like I was offered the Kangoo at a relatively good price, and I said yes because I could afford it. It had cheap insurance. It had cheap parts, easy to get parts. I knew roughly how to fix it, how to service it. I could live in it. I adjusted it so I could live in it. So it was better. So the Kangoo was for highest good. The Porsche would not have been. So whenever I looked at anything at all that showed up in my life, is this for my highest good? And I could work out roughly, remembering, well, is this the equivalent of a Porsche or a Kangoo? I could come back to some sense of realization of what's sensible to do from that moment. So I set off not knowing, but somehow life had set me up for that very moment. But I didn't know it, because during COVID, even though that was still during COVID, I had been talking to someone. I had a client who said they was lacking in resources, and I said, you're never lacking in resources. So to prove a point, I set up a group called Share and Swap Central Portugal. This group meant that everyone all of a sudden realized how resourceful they were, and everyone started sharing what they had in excess. This created a community over a course of weeks of 850 people sharing and swapping excess clothes, excess food, excess skills. There was people who wanted to learn Portuguese, people that wanted to learn English. They were sharing and swapping the skills. So all of a sudden, from no thing, we'd created a community. Well, I'd created a community being inspired from serving the client. I didn't think that I would need the community in the way that it showed up for me. But I said, you know, I'm leaving where I'm at. I'm setting off, and I'll put up my video so anyone can follow me if they wanted to. It wasn't about money, because we didn't do money on the group. It was about sharing skills and resources. So I shared my video. This enabled the people that were already there, that were already in the community that I didn't even realize, that were saying, come and stay at my house. Oh, you're passing this way. Come to ours. Detour past our place. Let me make you a meal. Let me, you know, come and have a cup of tea. I'd love to meet you in person.
Wow.
So,
and that was in Portugal?
All in Portugal. So I didn't talk Portuguese. I still don't really talk Portuguese, but somehow from that no way, that the way that I created through inspiration for someone else's highest good and for other people's highest good, then served my highest good. And that wasn't the intention. It happened by default. So all these people that were just there were then helping me. So I was able to then move across. I went right across Portugal. I went
Mm-hmm.
right round Portugal. I experienced many different places in Portugal, many different people from all over the world, like from, German, Dutch, Irish, English, French, Polish, all these different people, all the way
Mm-hmm.
to the base of Portugal and all the way back up. And
Wow.
and on the way round, it just so happened, I didn't ask. People would say, "Oh, could you do this and we'll pay you?" And I'd say yes. And they knew what my
Wow.
skill set was. So all of a sudden, I was asked to teach Reiki. I was asked to give counseling. I was asked to provide support. I was asked to do cleaning. I was asked to manage things. I was asked to create permaculture designs. So
Wow,
here I
that's
was.
beautiful. Let me just say that that makes me think about living in the moment and following, the inspiration, like with you driving, going through Portugal, and also, like this beautiful practice of saying yes, helping and just coming from the highest good for you and also for others, that you were, of service to others. Thank
Thank
you for that.
thank you. It was so out of nothing, out of just that came inspiration, and the inspiration and the saying yes meant and led to all these things. I have friendships now, such close friendships because of that journey. So the
Yes.
money just came. I didn't ask. I didn't beg. I never did that. Oh, whatever. Everything just worked out. And I then started to have this. I really wanted to have somewhere to be because I'd always wanted, and I wasn't sure whether it was ego or not, but I was fifth. I'll take you back to when I was 15. I was 15 years
Mhm.
old and I was made street homeless. So I was living on the streets at 15 years of age, and I was in a punk squat. So there was
Mhm.
lots of people sharing a building, and we had shared rooms, and some of us had our own rooms. I had my own room, and a mattress in this room. And I recognized, because I love asking questions, and I recognized through talking that there was so many people with so many skills, and that these intelligent people with incredible skills and incredible experiences from all walks of life, from hospitals to the armed forces to musicians to artists, they were all there, and they were
Mhm.
all finding a way of living their truth as it
Mhm.
looked for them. And I had this thought that if all these people could live like that, then why couldn't we all live in a bigger place like a mill or something, and
Mhm.
we'd all share our skills and all create together, and somehow that money we'd get that would come in because people would buy what we'd create, whether it was art or whether it was listening to music or whether it was eating, sharing the food. Do you know what I mean? There's so many skills that so many people
Yes.
have. It's just such blessings from all directions. We'd sit there,
Mhm.
and John could be making like pizza and cheese sandwiches, and Long John or Dave would be doing the music,
Mhm.
and Brett would be telling stories, and Deaf Ed was mute and deaf, and he'd be
Mhm.
like telling
Yeah.
his own story in his own special way, and it was magical. So we're now going to come back. So all these years later, here's me still thinking, well, there's all these different people, these different visions, all these not visions,
Mhm.
sorry, all these different skills. And here they were sharing and swapping on central Portugal. And why
Mhm.
couldn't I create a place where people can share and swap skills, where people could come together as community, where the community would sustain the community? Yes.
Yes.
So very similar, but in a different
Mhm.
setting. And I
Mhm.
thought, how cool would it be to be off grid and living in a sustainable
Wow.
way in alignment with truth, because truth to me now is very different to truth as it was then. My truth now is living in alignment with, in relationship with the trees, the animals, the plants, and the
Mhm.
people, and being able to pray and being able to meditate and being able to really feel into what feels right in this here now moment. Okay, so
Beautiful.
I was thinking about this and I thought, I really want some land. And as I was thinking this, I got
Mhm.
this invite to come and stay at somewhere. And I was like, okay. And then they said, well, if you stay here and run this project, like run the permaculture, you can take care of the land and everything. And I was like, wow. So I
Wow.
moved into this small cottage and started establishing things and creating a permaculture design for the space I was in. But a few different things happened at that time, which meant that we couldn't take it any further, which
Mhm.
which meant that I then moved again to a totally different place, because I obviously didn't know then what I knew now. At the time, it was like, well, this isn't working. Why is this not working? Blah, 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 blah.
Mhm.
But there's always something else happening behind the scenes that we don't know about, right? So at the time, I was pretty upset. And I'd had this idea that here I was working with alongside conscious people, creating something.
Mhm.
But it didn't matter because I ended up somewhere else, which was just perfect because then a friend of mine passed away and I ended up being the person that held her funeral, that did all the workings towards setting, helping her family reunite and
Mhm.
being able to support the community that I ended up living in now.
Wow.
But I didn't know that at the
Amazing.
time.
Yes.
I was
There
just
is
showing up. Yeah,
there is always something happening behind the scenes, as you said, that we don't know. And it's always for the
absolutely.
highest good.
Yeah, so there I was, and I was doing that, and I had a few invites, come and stay down here and live up here and do these jobs for us. But something didn't feel right. So it was like, I'll think about what you offer. Thank you very much. But right now, I
Mhm.
need to be where I'm at and doing what I was doing. So then I ended up being, you see, I had a very important lesson to learn before that happened. And I went to stay at my um, therapist's as a house sitter.
Mhm.
And up until that point, I was scared of men. And he was my, I wasn't scared of Martin because he was my therapist, but he was helping me to get my head around all the things that had happened through childhood
Mhm.
abuse and things as I got older and rape and things like that. So I needed to learn how to manage and get my head around these traumatic events. So I was
Mhm.
staying with Martin as a house sitter as he was between India and the UK and Portugal. And it was there I was able to connect with some people. I was able to work on my trauma and was able to really get to feel into myself without having to move so much. Also
Mhm.
able to set up a composting system. I was also able to practice and get my hands into the dirt and to take care of the trees and just
Mhm.
be. Excuse me. So there I was at Martin's, and it was there that I had this vision for creative roots,
Mhm.
only for the land. And the land then appeared to me. And I said to Martin, don't worry, I'll be gone soon because I'm going to buy this land. He says, how are you going to do that? I said, I don't know how I'm going to do that, Martin, but I just know it and I feel it in my bones. And he's like, okay. So it was like, all right then. And I thought, how am I going to do that? I don't know. It just will be. So this piece of land just kept showing itself to me. And I'd been saving bits and pieces as I could. And before I even knew where the money was coming from, I put the deposit down on this land that I live on today. And
Wow.
I paid the 1,000 deposit that I could have lost
Wow.
because I just knew somehow there'd be a way. So I came and that was before I even saw the land, because it had just kept coming and showing itself to me and popping up on my Facebook. I thought, this is really hard. Like, why is nothing else just
Wow.
doing this? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I came and I met up with the one person, Andrea, the one person I visited after I'd left my ex. I visited
Mm-hmm.
her and I visited her again. I said, there's some land near yours. Will you come and visit it with me? She said, yes, I will. So me and Andrea and Tom and Jose, my friend, who's a sound, what's the word now? He's a sound healer, and
Mm-hmm.
Batty, because of course by then I had Mr. Batty. We
Mm-hmm.
came here.
It's a dog.
Yeah, Batty, my little dog. And we came here all in the car together. And Jose wandered off and started playing music somewhere. And Andrea was looking at the door of the little shed. And I was
Mm-hmm.
just looking, talking to the trees, because I was like feeling into the trees, going, do you want me here? What, like, could you see me here? Could you feel me here?
Uh,
And then I walked up to the top of the land slowly, just seeing, and the place was, there was some oranges on the trees, there was pears on the trees,
wow.
there was there was the olives growing on the trees. And I took Batty and we were stood at the top of the land looking down. And Batty
Mm.
sat underneath one of the trees, and I looked at Batty. Now, Batty had come from a dog's shelter where he was in with other dogs. And before that, he'd been chained up in a garden, lost all his hair, and he was caught on a chain.
Oh.
And I said to him, I said, is this going to be your garden, Mr. Batty?
Oh.
He just looked at me and he just sat so
I
proud under
love
this
that.
tree. And I just knew. So after that, I just like went back to, I thought, well, we'll sort something out. I don't know how, but we'll sort something out. And then I got a phone call saying, I'd like to give you some money. And I was like, okay. But before it said that, he said, I've got some money, I'm going to split it between my children. So I was like, oh, that's great, because I didn't recognize I was one of the children,
Oh,
because my
wow.
family had never given me money. They'd never
Mm-hmm.
given me an amount of money. They've always expected me to stand on my own 2 feet. I always have. If I'd ever asked for money for a bus fare or anything, it was sort yourself out. You know, that I was on the streets at 15. I stood on my 2 feet and I took care of me and my daughter when I was homeless with my daughter when she was 18 months old because of domestic violence. We were stood together and we worked it out, me and my daughter together, and we went through life and it was just me and her. So I
Mm-hmm.
really wasn't expecting a phone call to say we were going to give you money. And I genuinely was happy for my stepbrother and
Mm-hmm.
stepsister, but you know,
Mm.
me as well.
Wow.
And I was
So that was
blown
your
away.
like that was your father or somebody who
Yeah, I now see
wow.
him as my father. He didn't buy that position, but he earned that respect, because
Mm-hmm.
to then see me as a daughter after all these years, especially when I went through the cancer and everything since, he's been a real dad to me. And I've
Wow.
never had a real dad be like that before. So he
Mm.
really does deserve to be called my father. But
Wow.
at the time that he gave me the money, we weren't that close. It was just totally out of the blue. So the money came
Wow.
from, and it meant that because of the money he sent and the money I'd saved up, it paid for the land, the solicitor, and start to the solar system and some other bits that I needed for the land, for the first piece of land.
Mm-hmm.
So I moved on a few months later and onto this one strip of land. And by then I'd received, well, because I'd been at Martin's and I'd been able to take that time to return to my centre, to be present with what is, I received the bigger vision for Creative Roots. I received the vision that said, you're going to go and it's going to be a safe space for people to connect, to come together, to heal, to remember who they are, to reconnect to their roots of who they are. I was like, okay, I didn't know what that was supposed to look like. So I was coming from a place of ego, and I was coming from all these fantasies that I'd had. So, you know, I came and I got the animals and one thing or another. So when I got cancer and I got that diagnosis, I was not expecting that. and I didn't know why I was a bit tired and why I wasn't managing. And I knew, because I had a dream and I'd woke up, it said full hysterectomy. I knew I had to have a full hysterectomy because the dream said so, not because I agreed with what it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I'd got this dream that I was creating, and now I'd got a diagnosis. I was thinking, well, how am I going to do it? So up until that point, somehow the clients came and enough money came in to do what I needed to do and cover the needs, and everything's always covered the needs, but it didn't get me any further. It covered the needs, and then all of a sudden there was the cancer. So I tried my best to hold on to what I thought the vision looked like. But I had to accept that it wasn't supposed to look like that, because after I'd had the full hysterectomy and I was trying to live on this land on my own and manage goats and chickens and ducks and turkeys and dogs, it wasn't happening, because I needed to heal. I needed to come back to myself. I needed time to remember and to just love my body, to remember, to connect to my body and honor my body consort. So I had to let go of what I thought it should look like again. And I let go, and I rehomed everything that I could with vegans, and so that everything was done for highest good again, which left me with Batty, Mittens, and Paws.
So two dogs and a kitty.
Yeah. Awesome. So here I am with the two dogs and the kitty. I had to recognize that I couldn't manage the way that set things up before, because I couldn't lift so well. It wasn't suitable for someone who couldn't lift. It wasn't suitable for someone that couldn't clean so much, because canvas tents and things like that need a lot of cleaning daily and weekly and monthly, and climbing up to clean big 6-meter posts and stuff like that. I just couldn't do it.
Yes.
So I had to get rid of everything that wasn't serving and sell it on to someone else's highest good, and use the money to come back to myself and realign with my vision, reassess, revise, come back. And now at a point where I've now got the well, the pump house, so I've got my own water supply. I live in a little castle, so that I'd gone from living in my tent to living in a small castle. I've got the compost toilet systems. I've got the bathroom being set up. I've got a workshop being set up, ready to hold space for people. We've got the fire pit set up. So all this is being set up now, ready for the next stage of the vision, which is, this is supposed to be the space for people to come, to relax, to reconnect with their truth, to be able to be present with community, to overcome trauma, to be able to feel safe. And so just randomly, the right people just pop into my life. The right people with the right skills pop up at the right time and do what's needed.
Absolutely.
And then just disappear. You've seen it yourself over, as you've been watching me in our very short but amazing relationship since we became prayer partners, which has been a total blessing, and that I'm super grateful for, you know. And you've seen me go from like having known to having the right volunteer that the process would, to be able to afford the person that came and could do work with my
Mhm.
budget to clear the land, to reveal things that we didn't have before. We've seen the plumber just turn up from nowhere
Yeah.
to volunteer
Yeah.
for 2 months to set up the bathroom plumbing that we didn't have any solution for, but all of a sudden the right person with the right skill set just dropped in.
Mhm.
I didn't know what his skills fully were until he arrived. And then there we go, we just had it, it just worked out. So
Mhm.
it just happens like that because life happens like that. It,
Beautiful.
it's nearly, well, it's 3 years in.
Hmm.
I set up the Creative Roots Facebook page at the start of June in 2022.
Wow, 3 years. Beautiful.
And now I've just had the delivery for all the crazy paving in quartz, which means it's a cleansing healing stone I never have
Mhm.
thought was affordable. That just happens to be in pallet loads outside my gate,
Uh-huh.
ready to go to make the labyrinth for people to walk on, to meditate, to create the floors that's needed.
Hmm. And
It's
out of nowhere, things appear whenever
yeah,
you just have thoughts, and it's done. And I love it. Like even
abs-
with the cars that broke down, right? And it's
yeah,
like people are already that they are being fixed right now. Just
it's
this is
done. It's
perfect.
done.
It's done. Exactly. And it is done.
Yes, as a yes yesterday, and it was like, no, it's being done. Um, well, I'll just sort it out. And I went and I got the right starter motor, and at 4 o'clock, it's done. Thank you very much. Awesome.
Thank
And
you.
that was while done whilst I was doing some more work about visioning for Creative Roots. So
Wow.
although now I am in alignment with my vision to the best of my ability, it never started off that way.
Hmm.
I didn't start off having the knowledge that I know now, or the practices that I know now, or the community that I know now. It started with joining Reverend Michael's class and then became a vision, and the vision grew with me. The
Hmm.
vision evolved, it unfurled. I love that word. It unfurled as I've unfurled, the vision's unfurled. The land has grown, it's expanded in every way possible, because when I first came, you couldn't see half of it. And now we
Hmm.
can see the land, we can
Yeah.
see the space, we can access. There's fruit trees, there's mature fruit trees I didn't know existed. So
Hmm.
again, like this, it's the olive oil has been in exchange for parts of the buildings to be built. The oranges, and I made cheesecake the other day to share with the people in community that are helping me. The marmalade, we have Muito marmalade, yeah, that I just made
Wow.
the other day, and we've got many jars. And why? Because it's a lovely thing to exchange with people which come and visit. I've had donations because I was like, well, how's the money going to come in? I wonder. The thing is, I've not got to know how. I've just got to keep returning to trust God.
Yes.
And I don't really call God God. I
Hmm.
call, for me, God is life. God is the
Hmm.
universe. God is this universal field of resonance. God
Hmm.
doesn't have ears. It took me a long time to work that out, but God doesn't have ears. He doesn't, there's no he, there's no she. It doesn't, this, there's no gender. It
Hmm.
just is pure love and responding in resonance to where our resonance is. So as I set off not knowing what I had, but I'd already got some form of feeling tone that said there must be more to life than this, it gave me more.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it gave me food, and each time it was, I am so grateful for this food, I am so grateful for this message, I am so grateful for these connections, I am so grateful for this life, I'm so grateful for this freedom, I'm so grateful to live in a way where I'm not being oppressed or suppressed. I've not got to argue, I've not got to be defensive, I've not got to be protective. All I've got to be is present.
Mm-hmm.
And from that place and space of presence,
Yes.
it happens. Life happens, and things just, they just keep coming. And
So, Rev Em, you basically just started with a very simple process of gratitude, just looking around and seeing that God, that life
yeah,
everywhere, and just being grateful for, the breath, your breath, life, anything, and that feeling, tone of gratitude is just the
absolutely.
resonance with that God, the creation that comes through and always provides, and there is never lack
Yeah,
experience. Am I hearing
absolutely.
you right?
Absolutely. The cancer, I never saw it as lack. It was like, oh, but I looked at it like, what is it? What's mine to learn?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Curiosity. You
And
just.
because I've been so active in helping people manage and navigate uncertainty and navigate the grief and navigate times in their life when people
Mhm.
are making their transition and helping people through service, through love. So people that are sitting with cancer, people that are sitting with suicide. For years, I sat with suicide, as in my own.
Wow.
Now,
Wow.
I'm going to share something. I don't think we've shared this yet. Back in 2013, my daughter tried to commit suicide.
Mm.
And it was like the third time, but it was the big one. And I saved her life that night, and I
Mm-hmm.
don't regret doing it. But that pain has pushed me ever since. It
Mm-hmm.
pushed me into helping people because I knew what it was like to be sit with suicidal thoughts and that feeling imprisoned by my own mind. And I knew what it was like to suffer. And
Mm-hmm.
then to see my own child go through that suffering too. But that has enabled me to sit with so many people. And it led me to becoming a doula, to being a death doula. It led me to being the person that can provide funerals, that support people
Mm-hmm.
in a very personalized way. It helped me to write in the book, Meeting Your Own Grief. It's helped me to show up for people in my community. And
Mm-hmm.
it's helped me to, like, the cancer was like, okay, so this is what you're preaching. Let's see
Mm-hmm.
what you practice. And
Mm-hmm.
it was like, I sailed through my
Mhm.
cancer.
And
And
let me just say, your book is available on
Amazon.
Okay.
Yeah. So I sailed through cancer and I was so grateful for it. And it was a blessing and it brought me more blessings. And I learned so much. And I was able to sit in my hospital bed after the operation and serve the nurses and serve the cleaner and the people that came into my room because it was such a sacred experience. And people are saying, oh,
Wow.
cancer, how terrible. I was saying, no, it was such a blessing. I am so grateful for the cancer. My cancer then meant when my mum got diagnosed shortly after mine, I was then
Mm-hmm.
able to guide my family and my mum through
Mm-hmm.
her cancer operations and
Yes.
to be able to show up and support her. Well, I was able to support my mum who was in her bed post cancer op and she'd done something like 13 hours, what was it, 9 hours of surgery with 3 different surgeons for hers. And I was able
Mm-hmm.
to support her on the phone from Portugal. And the exercises I was doing with my mum, the other ladies in the other beds was doing them too. And I brought light
Wow.
and hope to that room and to those people.
Mhm.
So
What a
I'm
gift.
so grateful for cancer. I am so grateful for everything that I have grown through. And I can see why I was blessed enough to get the cancer and to experience the cancer. I was able to show my daughter, this is how I'm doing it, and that I'm not scared. I can honestly say I do not fear death. Death is my
Mhm.
dancing partner. And
Wow. That's
I,
beautiful dancing partner. Are you
yeah,
guys dancing waltz or tango or what? Hip hop?
whatever death wants to do, I'm like, let's do it. Let's
I
dance.
love it.
You know, and we sometimes death spins me round and around until I feel dizzy and I can't even see which direction I'm going.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes death is nice and slow and let's just be present together. But
Mm-hmm.
being present with things like death has enabled me to serve in a better way. It enables me to know the importance of just giving space to people, to offering a place to people. It gives me more meaning to my life in the way that I know that I can serve through Creative Roots. I know that Creative Roots is here so that people can honor the grief through Reiki, through Ho'oponopono, through life
Mm-hmm.
visioning. I know that just because we look at something like strokes or cancer or our vision or our health or depression and mental health, because it's all the same, it's all a dance with death, and it's all
Mm-hmm.
the grief that we all carry. As soon as that comes in, we're able to sit with it, and there's so many tools which we can
Mm-hmm.
express and process our truth through painting, through drawing, through writing, through speech, through tears, through shouting, through just being there, you know. And I am so grateful for all of that. And I think that I've gone through everything I've gone through so that today I can sit here in this amazing space
Mm-hmm.
and provide. And I've learned everything I've learned in my lifetime about sustainability and about living a basic lifestyle and about Batty, you say word, and about how I'm able to take care of the trees and take care of the land and do the design, and how I can do everything, because every single skill has not been to waste. Everything that I've been through, every
Yeah.
experience, whether it's been sexual abuse, whether it's been um, the stroke, whether it's been cancer, everything's led me to this here and now moment.
Wow.
So I've experienced some incredible trauma, and I've experienced some incredible highs and incredible lows. I've danced with death from my own perspective with through watching my daughter, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm just so blessed to have lived such a life and to be free now, because
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel held by anything.
Wow. Radical total freedom and creation. That's why we have
Absolutely.
this beautiful name. I love Creative Roots with ROOTZ Ministry right there
Yeah,
in Portugal. But you can chime in from anywhere.
you
And Reverend M and I, there we go. Hi, Patsy.
can, Betty.
So cute. So we are offering on Saturdays. It may change, but on Saturdays at 7 p.m. Portugal time, and it's 11 a.m. Um, Pacific time. We will offer 1 hour of our service to you, which will be Ho'oponopono and Reiki offering, and then live visioning. So we invite you all. If you have any questions, please comment, write questions under this recording. And I thank you so much, Reverend M. You are amazing, such an inspiration. And we could learn how, trusting yourself and asking the right questions that are the expanding questions. No, like, why is it happening to me, coming from, victimhood, but coming from that will to expand and live in curiosity. That's interesting that something like this, cancer or stroke, whatever is happening to me, but curiosity. And always, I noticed that you are always willing to serve others, always blessing others, even in your bed, in a hospital, always thinking about others. Where can I give and what can I give and to whom, which is so
Yeah.
beautiful. And then that gratitude, just being steeped in gratitude, in just being grateful for even a breath, something like that, starting with just putting the attention of that gratitude and
In the
then just,
morning, I wake up and I
yes,
do
you
that
know,
every morning.
and being present. Also, another thing, what I got from our conversation today is just you took space for yourself to be in your own space, to love yourself, to go within. And when you were talking about, like when you had animals, but you needed actually space, you got rid of it. So kind of like cleansing and cleaning the space and taking time for self-love, for self-appreciation, self-care, just going in and trusting that what is needed in the moment will come. So anyway, I speak too much right now, so I feel
It's so good.
like yes, so thank you so much, and let's do it again. Again, if you guys have any questions, just write them down. And Saturdays, 11 a.m. Pacific time, 7 p.m. Portugal time,
Yeah.
and I think it's also maybe UK time as well. We
Yes.
invite you all to our process, and yeah, we bless you all, and we love you all. Thank you.